show you how you can just take anything that you have in your fridge and maybe some items from the store cupboard, just to put something quick and easy together to make a nice, fresh, healthy meal. So today we've got some vermicelli noodles, some rice noodles. You can use egg noodles, whatever noodles you've got lying about, anything that you can purchase from the supermarkets will be fine for this. There's no problem at all. These are gluten-free, but you can just use the regular wheat egg noodles if you like. We've also got a shallot, some onion, a red pepper. We've got sesame oil, soy sauce, fresh garlic, fresh ginger. These are little packets of miso paste, a spicy Japanese paste that you can pick up from a supermarket. You don't have to use these. You could substitute for some more soy or sriracha or whatever you have lying about, just to help give it some extra flavour. This is some sriracha. We've got button mushrooms, some tender stem broccoli, some bok choy. I'll be frying some eggs later on to garnish on the top, but again, that's purely optional if you don't like them or you don't want them. And I'll be putting some spring onion, red chilli, and be squeezing some lemon juice over the top. So I'm just going to start by putting some of the noodles on to cook. While I'm just waiting for the water to come to the boil, I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I'll start by chopping up some of the vegetables for cooking after. I'll just take the ends of the shallots off, leave it back. Sometimes, depending on the how old your onions might be, you might get some poor looking skin. You just peel that away and it'll be fine underneath. I'll just start by the shallots. I'm just going to slice them lengthways. Some nice strips. I'll cut this piece down. Nice. Do the same again. It's nice, gentle slices through. When you're cutting your vegetables, do try to make sure that your knives are sharp. Because what will happen when more accidents will come when your knives are blunt, not sharp. And they'll slip off whatever it is you're cooking and you'll catch yourself. Just chop up the other onion. So you don't have to use both, but it's just to show you I just prepare each one. This one I'll dice up. Start by slicing not all the way to the end, I'm just leaving the cap where I'm not cooked. That's it. All the way down. I'll take the knife, I'll slice it horizontally, and then down. Next, I'll bit of ginger. You can use a knife or a spoon for this, but you can also just use a peeler. Back like that.
Water's almost ready. Water's come to the boil. Just place your noodles in and just looking at the packets, give you the cooking times on there. These will take about 4 minutes. Just give them mix with a spoon or some kind of utensil just to help them unstick during the cooking.
Are there big taste benefits from using fresh ginger versus powdered ginger?
Yeah, I mean, you've got the nutritious part of it as well. Fresh ginger is really good for you. But flavour-wise, it's just the powdered is quite a different flavour. It's the fresh ginger is funny enough is a nice fresher zip to it, whereas the powdered ginger is more dull and kind of warmer feeling to it. Just cutting the ginger into thin slices. I'm going to cut them into thin strips like that. And I'll take that and I'll turn it slightly. I'll just run the knife through it again. We'll end up with little diced cubes. Stir the noodles again. You don't have to cook the noodles all the way to being completely soft, because it will cook a little bit more once you put them back into the pan later on. Just a little bit. Get that ginger. So I'll just peel the garlic. What I'm going to do with the garlic, so I'm just going to run a knife through it and then run the knife through it again.
So one of the things that we've been working on over the course of the last year whilst we've been in lockdown has been the catering sustainable food policy. But we also started working on a food waste policy, which would have been the ambition as a university is for the food waste policy to be a university-wide, so it encompasses residences, offices, all these other areas as well. But we've really made a focus during the course of this year at how we can monitor and record the food waste that we generate within catering, and then look for ways that we can reduce the food waste that we generate. Which has been, it is challenging, isn't it, Mark, to measure that food waste that comes from catering, because there's so many different ways that we have food waste. Plate food waste in a way is easy to monitor because we've put in scales, so at the end of the service we'll weigh the bags if we're frozen. Oh, I'm not sure if people can still hear us. Mark seems to have frozen. Oh, he's back. Sorry if you lost us just then. Yeah, so we've put in the scales to be able to weigh the plate food waste, but I guess that kitchen food waste comes from so many different means, doesn't it? You've got your production waste, which we're seeing, sort of the skins and the peels from things.
Yeah, so you can have the peel from the potatoes, the carrots, even when it comes down to the skin, if you're using normal broccoli and taking that back. So it's really trying to find ways to use up whatever we can back into the dishes that we're producing to reduce that amount down.
So I guess soup is a great way.
Yeah.
Love a soup myself.
Yeah, soups and stocks are a good way to use any peels and trimmings that you might have. If you were at home and you have a roast chicken as well, you can, once you've taken it apart and you've taken all the meat off, you can always break up the carcass a little bit, top that up with water and add some carrots and onions if you've got a little bits left. Stick just nice and easy. Stick it in a Pyrex or in a cooking pan. You can put that in the oven on about 150 and leave it there for about an hour. Just take it out, strain it through a sieve, and you've got a nice chicken stock to use again for the soups, or if you're making risottos or whatever else, rather than buying in a chicken stock. And you can also freeze that down at a later date.
There was a brilliant video that you guys did for, I think was it during Sustainability Week when you did, was it Chicken 5 Ways? And you took the whole chicken, and the chefs did a video demonstrating how you could cut the chicken down and utilise that whole chicken and get 5 meals from one chicken. Yeah,
so you could buy like a nice large chicken, and there was like, I think it was a braised sesame Korean chicken with the thighs, and then using the drumsticks was, I think it was barbecued. Just by baking them off. You could dice the chicken breasts then to make a curry, and then have the little chicken wings, just put a little bit of sriracha or something, bake them in the oven as a nice little appetizer. But again, using the carcass then to make a stock. So it's a great to use for broths or ramens or wherever it might be. It's a good way to use it all up.
I mean, I think you can do the butternut squash as 5 ways, which didn't know you could use a butternut squash so many different ways, so there's no wastage. So which bit are you up to now?
Right, so now I'm just going to start warming my pan up. Next thing, I'm just going to use the sesame oil. I'll start frying off the ginger, garlic and onion mix. Vegetable mix going in. So I've not put it on too fierce a heat, otherwise it will scorch quite quickly. I'm just looking for them to soften, go slightly translucent, just get the flavours coming out and coming straight out into the pan.
There's a question about cooking with sesame oil. So it is okay to cook with it, or is it mainly used just for flavouring at the end of cooking?
It's for both. I mean, there's a great many oils that you can use. You can use peanut oil, which is called groundnut oil. You could just use it at home, whatever oil you've got. You don't have to be sesame oil. Or if you're trying to reduce some of the costs, you can just use vegetable oil in this process. Just drizzle a little bit of sesame oil at the end to give it a little zing.
Is it smokier when you use those kinds of oils? I know my daughter cooks her stir fry, she uses sesame oil, and it can get quite smoky in the house, or is it just a bad look?
So different oils will have what they call different flash points. I can't remember off the top of my head what the one for sesame oil would be, but it's when it hits a certain temperature, then that's when it's going to actually combust. So certain oils will smoke at a lower temperature than others. Next, I'm going to add a pot of spiced stock or your miso paste. I'll mix these in. So if you were to use, or if you did want to add some protein, whether it be tofu or whether it be some chicken breast or even some other kind of vegetables, then you could add them at this point, then get them cooking into it, get the flavours all wrapping around it and mix it in.
What was the second paste that you put in? Sorry.
So what's like
The second one.
The second paste, one was like a Japanese spice paste, and the other one was a miso paste.
Okay.
So it's just have a look on the World Food aisle just to see what flavours there are around.
But you could adapt that to whichever flavour you're sort of wanting that in your stir fry on that particular occasion. You don't have to follow strictly any particular one. I guess this is where you can flavour your stir fry to be anything you want it to be.
Yeah, that's right. It's just your particular taste. Like this one is going to have quite a bit of kick to it because I've got the sriracha going in now. And now I'll put in a little bit of soy sauce. That mix in as well.
You said about you could add the chicken at this point.
Yeah.
Would you be best to seal the chicken before you put it in, or because so you don't end up overcooking the vegetables whilst the chicken's cooking through, or?
Yeah, I mean, what you could do is you could, from that point, you could take it out of the pan, keep it separate, add your chicken in, so your chicken gets sealed and part cooked in the same pan where the flavours are already, and you could do that, and then put all of it back together and finish off the cooking.
And you could use black bean sauce as a flavouring.
Yeah. I mean, you could add any shop bought item that you particularly fancy at that point. Again, just have a look in the shops and see what you like or what you've even got to use up in the stores, in the store code. I'm going to add the peppers. I just cut it in half, scoop the seeds out, and just cut them into long strips. Those in. And chop up the mushrooms into 1/2 centimetre slices.
Around food waste, interestingly, there's a site called WRAP, and the information that's available on there around sort of reducing food waste, not just as hospitality, but in the home, is it's really diverse. But one of the things they offer, which I know you've signed your team up to participate in, is they've launched a spin-off from WRAP called Guardians of Brug. So I know that the team are all signed up to participate in this, get those pointers on how to minimise and understand. I think a lot of it is understanding, isn't it? The impact of food waste that it has.
Yeah, and where we're buying the food from, trying to buy as much local produce as possible to reduce the air miles down. It's just also just by just trying to use this fish on the menu as well, just to help diversify
the offer to people so you're not buying as much red meat, just to help with the carbon footprint.
I mean, we are really lucky that we use a local Welsh butcher for our meat. You know, and we have it in our contract that it's Welsh produce that they supply to us. So always make sure that, you know, ensures that our meat produce is fresh and local.
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's Red Tractor approved and certified.
Yeah.
So as the peppers and the mushrooms are cooking down in this now, I'm going to start by chopping up the bok choy. Just keep the leafy ends towards the end. To get the thicker stalk parts in earlier. I'll just cut the ends off some of this tender stem broccoli. And you can, if you like, peel the skin back off the tender stem because it's depends how finicky you want to be.
What's the benefit of peeling it off?
All it is it's like with normal broccoli. It's this stuff. This stuff's like leather. It's just skin. So again, it depends on from a chef's point of view. And if I was to do this at home, I tend to faff about to do this. You don't have to. It's not the end of the world.
I was going to say I've never done that. I just throw it all in the pan.
I was taught very particular ways at some point, so these are the things you have to do. But it's a personal preference, so don't worry.
And those peelings can go into your stock pot.
Yeah. You can just use these up. It's the same with if you have a head of broccoli at home. Quite often people will take the florets off, and they'll start cooking those off, and maybe ditch the rest of the stem of the broccoli. But that stuff's really, it's where a lot of the flavour actually is. So you can either, once you cut the end of the florets off, the flower part, you can peel, as I've just done, you can peel the skin off a broccoli stalk, slice that down, and just have that with your normal, as you would normally cook broccoli. Because it gets a kind of, almost an asparagus feel to it then. Or you can chop it up and use it for soups and other items. It's really nice in there if you just slice it up thinly, like I've done with the bok choy, then you can use that in stir fries as well. It just takes, broccoli has a slightly leathery skin that it's not the end of the world if you don't take it off, but it is a nicer product once you do.
I'm going to try this tonight with my tender stem, and I'm going to try peeling it and see whether I can taste the difference, and I'll let you know.
It also, when you're trying, you might give it a poke, or you might see, is like, okay, is that cooked or not once it's in there? That gives a lot of resistance when the head is cooking, and that will overcook before the stem is cooked. So it's all of these little things as to why you might do it. As I say, don't fret. It's not something you've always been doing wrong if you haven't been doing it before. It's just under preference. I'm just going to stick the floret in.
So I guess it's like potatoes, because one of the key things I was always taught was that if you are peeling potatoes, try and cook with the potatoes with the skin on, because that's where so much of the nutrition is in the skin. And if you are peeling them, to use a potato peeler, don't use a knife, because you're taking off that top layer, which is the nutritious part of it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for definite, all of the nutrition in potatoes is in the skin. Some people, when they're even boiling potatoes for mashed potato, you might put it in a muslin and a cheesecloth, have the peelings, like wash them, have the peelings in your pan as you cook in the other potatoes, so that it helps give more flavour to your mashed potato. Just going to let these cook down, soften slightly.
But with both my kids having left, like moved out, kind of, when it suits them, they've moved out. So when you're cooking sort of like for less numbers, sometimes buying so much fresh vegetables, you can end up with things in your fridge which you don't eat at the pace that it needs to be eaten at.
Yeah.
This could be done with frozen vegetables.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, you can have a packet of frozen stir-fried veg that can just sit there, and you can just pull out and quickly stick straight in the pan. You can buy frozen ginger, even already diced, frozen garlic already diced. It's just so you can have your dried noodles, and you literally just come home, spark a pan up, and start cooking. It's you don't have to go to all of this effort to create something that's going to taste nice
And be nutritious.
Yeah,
I think
it still tastes.
The problem I have when I use frozen vegetables, especially in something like a stir fry, it's the water content that you get. So is it worth sort of defrosting it, leaving it on the side to defrost a bit first so you can drain out that water?
Yeah, you can do that's it. And but also, if you get your pan, if you're going to use a roasted a frozen vegetable, if you get your pan nice and hot, you'll find that when the veg hits the pan and it'll start defrosting, release all that water evaporates. So by having a hot pan as well, we'll get rid of some of that excess water.
So you're pulling the noodles apart there, I guess,
Yeah.
as they cool, they clump.
They just got a bit sticky, yeah. Let these soften out and cook a little bit more. I think those are probably warmed all through again now and cooked out. There's still a little crunch to the vegetables, so they're not too soft and soggy. So I'll just place those to the side. Take my pan with some water. So as I mentioned, I was going to top the noodle dish off with a fried egg. I'm just going to let my pan warm up slightly gently.
Ooh, you've used the sesame oil again.
I have used the sesame oil, but that's again, it's purely down to preference, and you just use whatever you like. It's no problem. But while that's heating up, I'll just chop some of the spring onions. Just chop up a little bit of the chili. You can cut them straight down into rounds if you like it quite hot. But I'll take out some of the seeds, because this is where all the heat is. Again, this is purely down to preference or taste. How you like your food.
They wanted to join us for lunch. Welcome anytime. So every chef I've ever worked with fries their eggs in a different way to each other. Everyone has a different technique, don't they? So how do you avoid, as I would call, the kilt on the edge of your egg?
The what, sorry?
The kilt, you get the brown crispy bit around the edge.
It's just a gentle cooking rather than going into a fierce pan. It's a little bit murky because I'm cooking it in sesame oil.
also to help it cooking whilst you're frying, and you don't want to flip it, let's say, for instance. You could always just use a saucepan lid, so that steam will help cook the top of the egg as well. So it's cooking from both directions. You have to be careful, of course, so when you're doing it, when you take the lid off, because the moisture from the lid, like I just used, will hit the frying oil, and it might spark up. So just watch yourself as well.
What's your favourite egg to eat? Poached, fried, scrambled?
I do like scrambled. I go in different moods, really. My favourite is to have scrambled eggs and smoked bacon. I do have a preference for that. But then sometimes it's just like a fried egg sandwich. So it really just depends on what kind of mood I'm in, or maybe how much I've had to drink the night before.
Eggs are so versatile though, aren't they, as well? I mean, they can be used in so many recipes and in so many different ways, and especially when you've got leftovers. So, you know, making that omelette when you haven't got much time when you get home from work late, or you've been running around with kids with school, you know, sports after school, so you need to make a quick meal. You can't really go wrong with if you've got eggs in the house to be able to throw some veg or whatever you have into a pan and make an omelette or a frittata, or wherever you're going.
Definitely.
Looking very tasty.
Yeah, it's quite a sight for people, I imagine. Chili over the top.
Fantastic to see that, you know, even just with leftovers, it can still be really healthy, tasty, nutritious, and look appetizing. Because I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Is it looks appetizing when you go to eat something.
It's nice. It's nice, fresh. You know, if you want to go the whole hog, you can have everything fresh. But it's also, you know, it won't take you a long time, and you can quite easily do different foods for the family, get them eating something a bit different.
So you have lemon there. Is that sort of an optional you could squeeze over?
And I'm going to put some lemon juice on the top as well. But so the lemon juice will just help take or cut through some of the fat that's in the egg, and also just give it a nice thing to finish off the dish. So that's stir-fried vegetables with our miso paste and fried egg.
Oh, Mark, it looks tasty. It smells pretty good too. Thank you.
Always.